OK was reincarnated with 255 RZ, but he gains over 100 billion stat points, making him stronger than a god in his new world. The story begins with a man named Oka, who knows he is unattractive but has learned to accept his appearance and live a happy life. One day, a girl falsely accuses him of harassing her. He denies the accusation and tries to leave but stumbles, scattering his shopping bags. Everyone sees the adult games he bought, leading them to believe he is guilty. OK realizes the world is not fair to unattractive people like him. He pleads guilty to avoid further humiliation, but the judge fines him 300,000 yen and he loses his job. Years later, it is revealed that the woman who framed him was arrested for falsely accusing other unattractive men of harassment. However, she only received probation because she was a minor at the time. OK was traumatized by the false accusation and could not find employment, eventually becoming a shut-in who lived with his parents. In the present, Oka is surfing the internet and comes across a mysterious post about sudden disappearances in the city. He notices another post, warning people to use their bonus points carefully or risk being unable to return to their world. Dismissing it as a joke, but having nothing else to do, he decides to follow the guide to be reincarnated. He suddenly receives a notification asking if he is ready to proceed with a new life, warning that he would need to sacrifice half his lifespan to return. Thinking it must be a virus, he clicks next anyway, and a character creation form appears. He sets his looks to the lowest value possible and realizes he has gained bonus points for doing so. He sees that he can add special notes, but instead of writing something positive, reduces his earnings to 0 and makes himself suffer if he ever touches a woman. He gathers over 100 red trillion bonus points. However, before he can use them to improve his attributes, he runs out of time and is teleported to the other world. The next day, Oka wakes up in his new body and soon meets others who followed the same ritual for reincarnation. He notices a boy named Sai talking to some girls but is not interested in forming friendships, so he starts searching for useful items. He finds a coin, but it magically disappears when he tries to pick it up, reminding him that he set his income rate to 0. After gathering all the starter items, everyone distributes them equally. C realizes they only have 7 coins, leading the girls to suspect someone took one. They ask Oka about it, and though disappointed by their lack of trust, he knows he cannot have any money and offers them his share. C argues they cannot exclude him, but a girl named Seikka points out that Oka was the only one who did not find any coins. They notice multiple goblins approaching, so C tells a girl named Ritsu to help him fight and asks Oka to protect Seikka as she loads her arrows. Oka is impressed that C is leading from the front, but notices Seikka struggling to tie her bowstring and wonders why she chose the bow when she had other options. A goblin suddenly attacks Oka, and C tells him to handle it. However, even a direct hit from his club causes no damage. Seikka is surprised by how weak he is. The goblin hits his legs, forcing him to his knees. He wonders why he is so weak, as he should have many bonus points, but then remembers running out of time during character creation and being unable to improve his stats. Angry at his bad luck, he takes out his frustration on the goblin, hitting it with all his might and managing to defeat it. He receives a notification that he has leveled up and is surprised to find he is already at level 31. Checking his attributes, he notices an experience multiplier of $10,000, which explains his rapid leveling. C and Ritsu also level up and decide to upgrade their stamina and strength, while Oka adds 1 trillion points to each of his stats. He suddenly glows with divine energy as the system declares him an absolute god. He realizes another goblin is hitting him, but with his new powers it feels like a tap. He tests his strength by gently flicking its head, sending the goblin flying, and realizes he has become overpowered. Noticing Seikka still cannot string her bow, he decides to help her, lying that he suffers from a condition where he will die if he does not draw the string. She gives him the bow, and he quickly ties it using his maxed-out dexterity skill. Impressed, she tells him to take the first shot. He carefully grabs the arrow, ensuring he does not accidentally touch her, and activates his skill called the Ultimate Destruction Shot. He fires the arrow toward the goblins, but it flies into the sky. Just as he wonders if he missed, a magic circle appears and a dragon emerges, eliminating the goblins in its path. Everyone is amazed by his power, and Seikka asks how he did it. OK excuses himself by saying he was in the archery club. She offers to handle the remaining goblins, so he returns her bow. As more goblins arrive, Sai tells her to cover them. She fires her arrows but misses all her targets and runs out of arrows. Disappointed, OK creates new arrows using his craftsmanship skill and tells her she dropped them. She quickly picks them up and starts shooting again but continues to miss. C and Ritsu eliminate the remaining goblins, but Oka, worried about Seikka, decides to stick with the group until they reach their destination. They soon arrive in Riia and notice a hamburger restaurant, which makes them happy. As everyone goes inside, Oka decides to leave, believing he needs to maintain his isolated lifestyle. He sits near a fountain but grows hungry because he has no money for food. Seikka arrives, surprising him, and he falls into the water. She asks if he is okay and gives him a burger as a token of appreciation for stringing her bow earlier. His stomach growls loudly, and she realizes he cannot afford food, though he dislikes her calling him poor. He goes to grab the burger, but his fingers accidentally touch her. He feels an electric shock, loses HP, and the burger smashes against the wall. He receives 50 trillion damage from the brief contact. As he processes the loss, he notices Seikka crying, thinking he rejected her gift. He uses his corporate communication skills, telling her she is so beautiful that his hands were trembling, but he would happily eat the burger. Seikka gives him her other burger, apologizing for making him nervous. He realizes it is her lunch, but she assures him it is fine since she is wealthy and reminds him that he helped her earlier. Okay happily eats the burger and feels he owes her, so he decides to stick with the group to pay her back, putting his plan to go solo on hold. Seikka and Oka visit a weapons store where Seikka tries to buy multiple bundles of arrows, but the shopkeeper tells her they have limited stock. Oka notices her bag is already full of arrows. Though he could easily create more for her, he cannot do so without causing suspicion. C and Ritsu soon arrive and mention they found a new inn, but Oka decides to sleep in the park. Seikka thinks he is doing this because he is poor and offers to pay his bill, but he does not want to be a burden. She becomes emotional, thinking he must hate her, but he assures her that is not the case. She grabs his arm and leads him to the inn. He notices he is not taking damage because she is touching him through his clothes instead of his skin. He thinks she is always taking him with her and cannot leave her alone because she is so innocent that people might take advantage of her. At the inn, C plans their finances while Oka worries about owing favors to Seikka. He realizes he must find a way to earn money despite his curse of zero income. Otherwise, he will be forced to return to his previous world. The next morning, Oka brings breakfast for everyone, surprising them. He lies that a kind person gave it to him. Seikka notes that begging is not good, and he should ask her if he needs money. He appreciates the offer. It is revealed that he actually bought the breakfast by crafting arrows and trading them for food at the weapons store. Since he cannot earn money, he traded them at a loss, but is glad he could repay Seikka's kindness. After breakfast, C says they should prepare for their next adventure. Seikka suggests exploring the city first, but C mentions they need a good source of income and notes there is a cave near the city they should explore, which excites Seikka. Ritsu wonders if it is safe. A man named Shiru interrupts and asks if they are heading to the Arga cave, stating they will need an expert navigator. He reveals he is also a reincarnated adventurer, which alarms Oka, but Shiru is surprised by how unattractive Oka is. Shiru shows them an item that can get them a discount at the inn and mentions they should have found it in the first log house, but decides to share it since they do not have it. C asks who he is, and Shiru introduces himself as a guide for beginner adventurers. Oka finds him suspicious because he only works with new adventurers, but is confident he can keep everyone safe if Shiru tries to harm them. C notes they are short on money, but believes hiring Shiru will be a good investment. They strike a deal and head toward the cave. On the way, they encounter a group of goblins. Seikka shoots arrows at them but misses all of them. Shiru advises her to conserve arrows, but she assures him she has plenty. He tells her to think of each arrow as costing 100 million yen. So she aims carefully and manages to hit a goblin, impressing everyone. They continue their journey, and Shiru trains Ritsu and C while Seikka practices shooting arrows at a tree, but misses all her shots. Shiru notices Oka is not training, so Oka makes an excuse that he has no skill worthy of training. Shiru mentions that clubs have an overpowered ultimate move, and Oka knows he is telling the truth, having previously encountered a giant orc outside town. Inside, he notices Seikka is scared and wonders if she is a child. She is thrilled to see stalactites, but Shiru warns they might fall, making Oka again wonder how old she is. C politely asks her age, mentioning he was 30 in their previous world. Seikka surprises them by revealing she is 17, as they expected her to be younger. Shiru guides them deeper into the cave, where they encounter bats, which they easily defeat. They reach a giant door, and Seikka is excited to see what is on the other side, but stops when she realizes no one is opening it. Shiru tells her it is the boss's room, and she will die if she enters, so she hides behind Ritsu. Sai thinks they should call it a day, but Shiru notes he has a special event planned and leads them to a room, claiming it is a safe spot monsters and magic cannot penetrate. Oka knows his ultimate move would destroy it. Seikka notices snacks on the table, and Shiru says it is a welcome party for adventurers who made it this far. Oka realizes the food is poisoned with an anesthetic drug, but is confident it will not work on him. C turns down the offer, explaining they need to return before dark. Shiru says it is all right and will not force them to celebrate. C apologizes, admitting he doubted Shiru earlier, but now thinks he is a good person. They all start enjoying the snacks, but Oka wants to slow them down so he can use his antidote magic. He asks what they were doing before coming to this world, shocking everyone. He realizes he should not have asked such a sensitive question, but C offers to share his story. C explains that he hated school and left his parents' home, eventually starting his own company called Success Life, which Oka recognizes because he once worked with them. C mentions a salesman came to sell them a machine, and C started to negotiate the price. The salesman's attitude impressed him, and he advised C to enjoy his life. C left his company to travel while expanding his business. The company made progress, but eventually went bankrupt due to an incident related to AI development, causing everyone in the company to suffer. Sai became mentally ill and felt he could not repay the salesman for his kind advice, so he left their old world with a promise to never let people down, which makes everyone emotional. C reveals the salesman's name was Mr. Shagaru and asks Oka for his last name. Oka knows he is the salesman in the story, but lies that it is Sasaki. Everyone suddenly collapses as Shiru and his men arrive. Shiru is happy their job was easy because their targets were gullible, but Oka is still awake. They cuff his hands, reminding him of his past wrongful conviction. He thinks that since everyone is unconscious, he can use his full power. However, Sai gets up despite the drugs and tells them not to touch his friends. They grab Sai, and Oka worries that attacking might hurt him. C fights back and they throw him away. Oka sees an opening. Shiru orders his men not to hurt the prisoners because it will reduce their value. C realizes they have been kidnapping reincarnated adventurers and thinks they are the worst for hurting people looking for another chance, vowing not to spare them if they touch his friends. Shiru laughs and orders his men to tie them up, but Oka jumps on them, using his weight to knock them down. IC tells Oka to escape, claiming he can take down their enemies with a single blow, surprising Oka. Shiru orders his men to attack, and Oka again uses his weight to fight them, but they outnumber him and fight dirty. C becomes angry and decides to show them his ultimate move, which he got after converting all his bonus points into a promise to never betray his friends. He reveals his ultimate skill is triggered by anger and tells them to surrender, but they are not afraid. Shiru attacks him, but Oka blocks the sword with his handcuffs. C asks Oka to step away, but Oka says he wants nice people to be able to redeem themselves and will protect C while he prepares his ultimate attack. Sai transforms, growing wings and shocking everyone. He reveals his name is Aldine and charges at the kidnappers but stops just before making contact. He says he could easily deliver judgment but does not want to rob them of the opportunity to redeem themselves, telling them to repent through the judgment of law so their hearts can be reborn. This confuses Shiru, and Oka thinks C is just too kind. Shiru surrenders and lays down his weapon. C walks away, saying he will not show mercy if they choose evil again. Oka thinks he should not turn his back on them. Shiru tries to attack from behind, but Oka causes him to trip. The kidnappers start kicking C, so Oka pretends C's friends have shown up. While they are distracted, he removes dirt from his nose and instantly destroys the wall with it, telling them it was C's attack. C has no idea what is happening. Oka says he saw a white-winged falcon responding to the hero's anger. The kidnappers kneel and ask for forgiveness, with Shiru promising to change his ways. Though Oka does not believe them, he tells them to form a line and tells C to hit them so they can feel the pain of others, thinking C's power will hurt them if they still have bad intentions. However, Sai returns to normal because he is no longer angry and says the whip of love should not be used with anger, or it would only be satisfying to him. He orders them to stand straight and start slapping their faces while they thank him for educating them. She wonders if Oka was also awake, and C tells them how Oka used his body as a shield. She calls Oka the real MVP. C asks him to take the money, but Oka knows he cannot have any because of his curse. He uses his salesman tactics to lie, telling the others he is bad at managing money so they will not entrust him with funds. C takes the money and distributes it equally. When he tries to give Oka a share, Oka refuses again, explaining he cannot carry cash. Seikka volunteers to hold Oka's share, promising to give it to him whenever he needs it. However, C points out that Seikka has a habit of impulsive spending. Later, Seikka takes Oka to a restaurant. While she is buying lunch, he thinks that with his 25,000 Riia, he can repay her and survive on his own, so he no longer needs to stay with the group. He believes this will be their last meal together. But when Seikka returns and gives him a large burger, telling him to show gratitude, he thanks her, which makes her happy. He reflects that she must enjoy their interactions, remembering how she was initially unfriendly, but has now completely changed. She reveals she fell in love with burgers just 2 days ago, leading him to realize she must have been very sheltered in her previous life. She asks about his stats, and he lies, claiming they are basic. Seikka expresses disappointment that he did not pay attention to character customization, explaining she found a trick where lowering the appearance stat increases bonus points. Oka assumes she did not lower her own looks, but she reveals she set them to -16. He is confused about how she remains beautiful despite this, so she reveals that in a special note under her stats, she asked to be pretty. OK is shocked, thinking he could have used the same trick to look like a handsome model, but he cannot even remember his own name. Seikka suddenly notices a cat and remarks she has never seen one so close. OK encourages her to go touch it. She gets up and starts jumping joyfully because she can finally stand, which surprises him, but she suddenly trips. He rushes to cushion her fall, but she recovers her balance and asks him what is wrong. He explains he was just exercising, and she goes to pet the cat. OK heads to the restroom and begins to cry as he remembers how, when she mentioned her wish to become pretty, she was touching her hand instead of her face. He concludes she must have suffered from a disease affecting her hands and legs, and finds it tragic that a young girl endured such hardship. But then he remembers his absolute god title and feels it is his duty to help her. C knocks on the door, asking if Oka has an upset stomach. Oka says he will be out soon but thinks Sai lacks social experience because he was bedridden in his past life. Oka realizes Seikka would be an easy target for criminals and, bearing the title of Absolute God, wants to ensure her safety. He leaves the restroom to find her waiting because she was worried about his health. They rejoin the group, and C suggests they determine their jobs to help in battle. C chooses to be a hero, as it is his goal, and Ritsu becomes a mage. C thinks Oka should be an epic fighter. Seikka interrupts, saying she also wants to be a hero, but Oka asks if she would like to be an epic fighter like him. She says she is not interested. The group gears up with new equipment. After their class change, Seikka approaches Oka and proudly announces that with her new outfit, she has become a great mage. He tells her she looks great and expresses relief she decided against being a hero. The group holds a meeting where Sage announces they will head to the Principality of Valyria and advises against spending much on snacks, which upsets Seikka. She asks Ritsu to jump rope with her, and they go to the park while Oka is happy to see them getting along. In a flashback to the weapons store, Seikka is interested in weapons made for fighters. Oka tells her mages rarely use weapons and, with the salesman's help, convinces her to buy a skipping rope. Oka demonstrates how to use it, and she is surprised he can move so well despite his size. Noticing she is thoughtful, Seikka mentions she wants to teach Ritsu, but feels Ritsu is too distant. OK realizes Ritsu likely wants privacy since they all fled their old lives, and he devises a plan. Back in the present, Oka watches the two girls play from behind a bush. Ritsu easily masters jumping rope, but when Seikka asks her to introduce herself, she falls silent. Seikka decides to call her Leads, resembling a breeze. Ritsu continues jumping with impressive acrobatics, leaping into the sky. As she lands, a crowd gathers, praising her and asking her to join their group. Seikka suddenly starts crying, so Oka comes out of hiding. The crowd calls him ugly and says he should be arrested, but Ritsu tells them he is her party member, which they find hard to believe. Oka tells Ritsu to be more considerate and answer Seikka, as ignoring her is insensitive. Ritsu apologizes and runs away. Later, Seikka finds a message from Ritsu apologizing for her behavior and thanking Seikka for the beautiful nickname. Ritsu says she wants to be friends, which makes Seikka happy. Seikka goes looking for Ritsu while Oka realizes Ritsu is hiding and tells her to come out. She takes him to another room and performs a jumping kneel to apologize. Oka wonders why she cannot kneel properly and why she is apologizing. She reveals she knows his last name is not Sasaki and that he is the salesman who met Sage in their previous world. Oka wonders how she knows his real name, and she explains she has an ability from her special notes that allows her to read other people's status windows. He realizes she knows everything about him, including his absolute god status and his weakness around women. She asks if he knows about Seikka's past, revealing she is the one who broke her and is now there to redeem herself. She explains she was part of an AI program in the previous world where she met Seikka. Although she wished for everyone's happiness, Seikka was hurt in an accident. Oka wonders if it was the same AI program that destroyed C's company, and she reveals that C is actually her brother. Since she looks completely different now, he could not recognize her, just as Sage did not recognize Oka. Ritsu says she heard Oka could make others smile and was looking for him. When he doubts her, she reveals she cannot lie, as that was the cost of her repentance in the special notes. She asks for his help in making Seikka and C smile. Oka thinks they are both innocent and vulnerable to criminals, so he agrees to work with her. She cuts her hair, explaining she made a vow and that Seikka had said short hair would suit her. She believes it will help her get along with Seikka, and Oka sees her strong resolve to help their friends, deciding he can trust her. The next day, the group prepares to travel to Valyria. C loads their luggage onto a strange animal that did not exist in their old world. Ritsu joins them, and Seikka likes her new haircut, starting a conversation that makes Oka happy. On the journey, they encounter monsters. Seikka defeats some with her magic, but an eagle attacks her, and C quickly kills it. Another monster attacks from behind, but Ritsu kills it with her arrows. They realize they have wiped out the monsters. Seikka is confident as her magic talent blooms, but C notes it is getting dark and they need to camp. They had chosen a steeper route at Seikka's request and soon find a cave. She cleans the floor, mentioning it is her first time camping, so C suggests dividing the work. Seikka decides to go fishing, and Oka accompanies her. They sit by the river but catch nothing. She says she wants to be less whiny, as she sometimes cries for no reason, which she finds pathetic. Oka says people sometimes cry because their heart is passionate and suggests if she does not understand why she is crying, she should ask what moved her. This makes her cry again. Ritsu interrupts, saying the fire is ready, but Seikka notes their lack of luck. Ritsu uses her bow to shoot fish in the water, allowing Seikka to catch them. Seikka takes the fish to camp while Ritsu notes that Seikka is always happy in Oka's company, believing her brother was right about Oka's ability to make people smile. Oka sees smoke from the camp and suggests they leave, but Ritsu asks him to keep her identity secret for now, fearing it could break the group. They return to camp, where everyone enjoys the food. Oka asks Sage about their journey's goal, and Sage admits they do not have one but will figure it out in Valyria. They suddenly hear footsteps and see an injured girl named Riia collapse. In a flashback, Riia is pursued by two men who want to punish her. She hides behind a tree, remembering she vowed to kill all pretty girls because her boyfriend left her for them, and they never treated her with respect. Back in the present, Riia wakes up with C beside her. He tells her Seikka used healing magic to help her recover. Riia says it is cool, but Seikka tells her to say thank you instead. Riia asks to be moved closer to the bonfire. OK notices Seikka is sad because of Rihia's rudeness, but thinks she should be more careful around strangers. Earlier, when C asked Oka to bring water for Riia, Ritsu told him about Rihia's special note promising to kill all beautiful girls, so they fear she may target Seikka. C offers Riia food, but Seikka holds the bowl and offers to cool it down, which only angers Riia. Riia tries to grab her weapon, but Ritsu disarms her and keeps watch. C asks how Riia got her wounds, and she says her party was attacked and they split up after running for their lives. C says he will protect her until they reach their destination, but she doubts him. Seikka insists he would never betray anyone. C asks if Riia feels better, and she lies, saying she has a bit of a fever and wonders if Seikka can take her to the river. C offers to help, but she calls him a pervert who wants to see her bathe, making him nervous. When Oka approaches, she tells him to stay away, or she will scream if he touches her. Seikka wonders if he is also a pervert, and both men feel ashamed. Ritsu offers to help, but Riia says she is scary. Oka recalls Ritsu cannot lie or fake expressions due to her special notes. Riia asks Seikka to accompany her to the river, and Seikka agrees, returning Rihia's weapon in case they encounter monsters. Ritsu follows them, and Oka wants to go too, but Sage stops him. Oka explains Riia is dangerous, and C agrees they must be careful, believing Seikka can handle herself. They continue eating, but Oka realizes C does not know about Rihia's special note and decides to act alone. Using his super speed, he travels between the river and camp so quickly that Sai thinks he is glitching. Oka tricks Sai into thinking he is tired and uses a sleep spell on him. At the river, Riia drinks water and feels better. She says Sai is cool but inexperienced. She wishes she could join their group, which excites Seikka, but Riia says it cannot happen because of her special note. Seikka says she is not pretty and wonders if she did something wrong. Riia explains she did not, but she cannot go against her note. Seeing pretty girls stirs an uncontrolled urge in her head, and she has done terrible things. Seikka cries, asking why she wrote such a thing. Riia says pretty girls in their old world stole her man and made her a laughingstock. Since arriving in this world, she has been changing parties and killing pretty girls, but she thinks it will end tonight because she will join their group after killing Seikka. She moves to attack, but Ritsu shoots her sword away. As Riia tries to retrieve it, Oka stops her, saying she has reached a dead end. Seikka suddenly starts glowing, transforming into an angel. She approaches Riia, who threatens to kill her if she comes closer. Riia admits her special note forces her to kill pretty girls. Oka feels sorry for her, knowing they cannot change the notes. Riia sits in a tree, preparing to gouge her eyes out, but Oka stops her, having found her with Ritsu's help. Riia says it is the only way to stop herself from killing pretty girls. Oka does not want her to hurt herself and offers a deal. He reveals he can remove her sight without pain, using high-level dark magic to seal one of her senses, and light magic can reverse it. In exchange, she must promise to live stronger. She asks why he is going so far to protect Seikka. He says he also messed up his special notes and initially wanted to leave the party because he does not trust people, but Seikka's kindness touched him, and he decided to stay to protect her. Riia says she is jealous of Seikka for having a party with great people. Oka asks if she wants to join them, but she says she cannot because of the damage she has caused and needs to be alone. She tells him to use his magic to blind her. Later, Seikka wakes up and Oka explains what happened. She cannot believe she has a special power and wants to use it to help people, but he advises her to keep it a secret because criminals may try to steal it. He says she is only 17 and beautiful, beautiful, making her a target. She asks what she should do, and he says he is not telling her to doubt everyone but to get to know people so she can tell if they mean harm. She promises to be more careful, and he tells her to call him if she's in trouble so he can rush to her. She thanks him for looking after her and offers a handshake. Knowing he will take damage if he touches her, he decides to do it anyway, enduring the pain without crushing her hand. The next day, Oka tells Sai that Riia left during the night, leaving a message on a tree thanking them for healing her. Sai says he wanted to see her off, but Oka says it is okay because she was happy and mentioned finding her own way. They continue to Valyria, and Seikka is excited to see the city. Oka recalls a conversation with Ritsu, telling her about Riia. She cannot believe Seikka can turn into an angel and wonders why she did not know, since she can read special notes. She explains Seikka's note did not mention the transformation, unlike Sei's detailed process. Oka asks what is written in his own notes, wanting to know his weakness. She agrees to write everything down but acts strangely. He says she can do it after Sei sets a goal for their journey, as he wants to gather information in the city. Oka notes he wants Sage to be king, explaining that Shiru told him how his friend took the throne, so he thinks reincarnated adventurers can rule. He says Seikka and Sei are both innocent, and Sei maintains his innocence despite the world's darkness. So Oka believes Seikka can live a better life if Sei becomes ruler. Ritsu thinks Oka should be king, but he says he is not a team player like Sei and prefers working alone. He believes Sei would be a better king, and Ritsu asks him to take care of her brother. Oka says they should work together. Back in the present, Oka thinks about helping Seikka and Sei level up. Sei says they are almost at Valyria, but they see a group of monsters blocking the path. Everyone charges in, but Sei says he needs to tie his shoelaces and will catch up. Oka knows he is lying because he has no shoelaces, but Seikka believes him and rushes ahead. Monsters prepare to attack her, but Oka protects her with a wind wall and tells her not to run off. He sees Sei trying to transform, but realizes Sei is taking off his clothes to avoid ruining them when he turns into Aldine. Oka sees the transformation will take time, so he leads the others to a tower where he buffs them with blessings, helping them defeat approaching goblins. He sees monsters climbing the stairs but does not want to wipe them out, wanting his friends to level up, so he summons mud golems to fight them. Sei finally transforms and rushes to his friends, asking if they are okay. Seikka asks who he is, and he reveals